Welcome to Tavern Archery. I'm Johannes von Hammersbach, and after a day on the archery field, we come into the tavern, grab a pint, sit down, and talk about all things target archery. Prost. We're back in the tavern today with Master Godric of Hamtun, from the Barony of Enderwald, from the Kingdom of the East. And Master Godric is going to show us today how to make arrows, from arrow blanks to getting arrows on target.
Good day to everyone. My name is Master Godric of Hamtun, and I am going to have a series of videos on how to build arrows. There are many different fletching techniques out there, and many different fletchers use different products. I'm going to show you the products and the process that I use. The first thing we're going to do is we need to spine the shafts. Now, what I mean by spining the shaft is how much is that shaft going to flex before it's going to break. Now, that's known as spine weight. And here I have a spine tester, and I'm going to show you how we spine arrows. This particular spine tester has several parts to it. It has a counterweight, has an indicator. Here we're spining at 26 inches, and it has the scale over here. This is how, so we can adjust it to 0. If you go back, you can see that the arm is going up and down. So for this particular shaft, I'm going to 0 it out, which is give it 0, and then I'm going to take the lever, and and this shaft is about 31 pounds, okay? Meaning that a 31-pound bow would safely shoot this arrow. Now, what we're going to do now is we have to get an average. So I'm going to turn this shaft about a third of the way around. I'm going to re-zero it out. Oops, wrong one. Re-zero it out. And now I'm going to read it again. And I notice over here that it's almost 32. So now I'm going to reset everything. I'm going to turn it another third of the way around, approximately. Again, 0 it out. And then spine it. And again, this one is almost 32. So I had one measurement at 31, two at 32. So it comes out to be about 31 and a half or so. So I always round down, don't round up for safety measures. And so I round down. So this shaft spines at 31 pounds. Now, once we have all of our shafts spined and we have chosen a spine weight, now I group mine in 2-pound increments. So 31s will fit a 30 or a 31-pound bow. Now we have to weigh them, because now we're weighing the actual physical weight of the shaft, and we weigh those in grains, and that's known as shaft weight. So here we have spine weight, which tells us how many inches of deflection we have, how far it's going to bend before it would break. And then over here I have a grain scale. A very simple one. There are many different out there. And I'm going to make sure that I'm in grain mode. And now I'm going to weigh my shaft. This particular shaft weighs 262 grains. And so, as you can see here, I have them marked out in 10 grain increments. So in this slot, it would be 240 grains to 249. This one is 250 grains to 259, and so forth, all the way up to 330 grains to 340 grains. So this one was in the 260, so I put it there. When I match my set of arrows for a customer, I try to give them a dozen that are within 10 grains of each other. So I have a customer that wants 2 dozen arrows, so I'm going to try to find her 24 arrows that is so close together that the difference in weight is not going to be significant enough to hamper the performance of the arrow. So I'm going to start here at my 260 group and count how many I have. So this one's 1, 2, 3, 4. I happen to have 12 at 200 that are between 260 and 269. I can go down. So what do I have here? And so I have 12. So I can get my customer a set of 24 arrows that are weighted within 20 grains of each other. 20 grains of sand. And so this is going to be a matched set. Now I would like to have gotten 24 that were all 10 grains from each other, but that would require having a lot more bare shafts at 30 to 31 pounds. Once we have our shafts selected, we have spined them and we have weighed them and we've got our matched set of arrows. Now the next step is to try to make them as straight as possible. Shafts come in 32 inches long, and so I use a piece of granite as my flat surface, and I lay it on there and I kind of roll it, and I'm looking to see if there's any kind of wobble to it. And this particular shaft has no wobble, so it's about as straight as you're going to get it. And I'm going to do that to all 24. Now, here I have a little bit of a wobble, and so I'm going to use this thing called a shaft tamer. There's many different kinds out there, but I'm going to find where it bows a little bit, and I'm going to take my shaft tamer and I'm going to compress the fibers of the shaft. And as you can see, I've now changed the wobble to it. And so I'm going to compress the shaft. And so thus I am straightening the shaft. And I'm going to do that to all 24 arrows. So that's going to be my next process, is to do that to all 24 arrows. So now I have my 24 matched set of arrows. They're spined to 30 to 31 pounds. They all weigh between 260 and 250 and 269 grains. And I have gone ahead and I've straightened them all using my shaft tamer. The next step is we need to sand these, because we need to prep them for the paint or the stain and the cresting that we want. Now, bare shafts, when they come from the factory, they come with a little bit of some kind of like machine oil or something, because these shafts are made by a machine that takes a trunk of a piece of cedar tree and it pushes it through this die, which extrudes out and gets you these shafts. That's why sometimes they're straight, sometimes they're not. And in order to get the shaft to go through the extruder, they need to be able to put this little bit of oil on it in order to be able to go through. So we're going to smooth them out, and we're going to take that oil sheen off of it. I use 150 grit sandpaper because I'm not trying to take off a lot of material. I'm just trying to smooth it out and prep it so that the stain and or paint that we're going to use. So grab your sandpaper in your shaft. Now, you don't want to create too much heat, so you don't want to sit there and just rub on it. I use my fingertips and I squeeze the sandpaper around the edge and I twist it as I'm turning it, as I'm going up and down the shaft. And I want to make sure that I go all the way, because I don't know the draw length of my customer just yet. but I want to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. And notice I'm not doing a very fast motion because I don't want to generate heat. If I generate too much heat, I could warp the shaft and then I'd have to straighten it again. So here I have, and then I'm just going to go on to the next one, and I'm going to do the same thing to all 24. I'm going to twist it as I'm going up and down the shaft, making sure that I get it nice and smooth, get all the impurities off of it, the oil, the dust, the dirt, and so that when you add your finish, whatever that might be, whether it's stain or paint, it's nice and smooth. Okay, so we've spined our arrows, we've weighed them, we've straightened them, and now we've sanded them, and now they're prepped and ready to stain and or for cresting. So this particular batch, they want two-tone, which means they want one color at the top of the arrow where the knock is, and they want another color down at the bottom where the point is. So, and then they want some fancy cresting in the middle. Now cresting is just a series of lines and fat lines and skinny lines to help you differentiate your arrows from somebody else's. It also makes them look pretty. So we're going to start with taping off the part where we are going to crest. I don't want any stain, I don't want any paint or anything like that in that area. The pattern that they chose, I'm going to use 1.5 inch tape. And so the first thing I want to do is I'll take my shaft, and I got a tape measure here. I got it set to 9 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mark on my shaft at 9 inches. Now this is from the knock end, and then I'm going to take a piece of painter's tape. I got this blue stuff. There comes in many different colors and manufacturers. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this tape, see if you can see it any, I'm going to make it square to that line, and now I'm just going to wrap it around, making sure that I get exactly on top of the other piece, tear off the excess. So now when I go to stain the top one color and the bottom another, this will all be bare, and what I'll do is once the stain dries, I will pull this off. Now I use stain because I can get it in many different colors. Paint adds weight, and so I'm trying not to add too much weight to the shaft so that they all will be the same weight. We went and did all that weighing to try to get them within 20 grains of each other. So if we start adding paint to it, physical paint adds a lot of weight. Stain doesn't add quite as much weight to it because I use water-based stains. I don't use oil-based. Again, there are many Fletchers out there that will use oil-based stains, and they have perfectly good results. This is just the way that I do it, and I have very good results with the way that I do it. So we're going to mark all of our shafts like so to get them ready for staining.
Thank you, Master Godric, for showing us the fundamentals of arrow making. We look forward to seeing you again in the tavern. Prost.
They long had shopped so well, and no wonder, for truly they spent time gathered here. They spent time gathered here in tavern archery.